Hi guys, Buildzoid here, and today we're going to do another sort of going shopping with Buildzoid video. So, Buildzoid versus PC part picker, and we're going to be just strolling through the available DDR4 memory instead of having this researched ahead of time. Like, I find it's more entertaining if we go on a shopping trip because I can comment on all the really overpriced memory kits and crack jokes at their expense. But yeah, let's get into it. So we're going to be going through 2x8, 2x16, and 4x8. I am not going to be doing any higher density memory configurations because I just don't know anything about them. I don't test them, and so I don't feel confident recommending like specific 4x16s or specific, um, well, actually 4x16 I wouldn't feel too bad about recommending, but like once we get into like 2x32, 4x32, it's just like absolutely no. Like I just don't test memory sticks that high density. And I do have two 32 gig memory sticks, but they're Samsung OEM, so it's just like they're not really representative of what you're going to get if you buy like a 3200 megahertz rated 32 gig memory stick. So yeah, kind of useless experience right there because it's like OEM Samsung is not the same as what you can get from various vendors. So, yeah, we're just going to go through, and this is PC part picker, and we're just going to go from the bottom upwards. And so here at the bottom, my policy for memory purchases would just be buy the thing with the highest memory speed. And the reasoning for this is very, very simple. If you buy something that's like DDR4 2400, is going to be all over the place. It's like basically what I mean by that. And actually, I should probably zoom in on this a bit because this is going to be on a YouTube video. So yeah, I don't really lose any useful information here. So I would you know, if you're trying to cut costs, I would not go for 2400 megahertz rated memory kits because the thing with the 2400 rated kits is like they're just going to be anything and everything, and so you can get some good ones, but you can also get some really really bad ones where like if you're lucky you're going to get a 2400 megahertz rated memory kit based on something like say Samsung EDI or the old EDI, the 4 gigabit. Actually, now you could get like a 8 gigabit Samsung DDI in a 16 in a 2x8 at 2400 megahertz. That stuff should actually be pretty good for overclocking. Like I wouldn't be surprised if you could go over 4000 megahertz on that, considering what my OEM stick of DDI did. But yeah, the thing is like at the same time you could also get something like Hynix. Well, I don't think they make it anymore, but there was a period of time where you could definitely get like Hynix MFR 8 gigabit, and that stuff is garbage. Like it barely goes over 3200 megahertz. So you know, and because of the fact that it's just like the 2400 megahertz kits get made with literally anything that shows up on the factory floor that day, they're not something I recommend because you're just not going to know what you got until you until you turn it on. And like the other thing is the SPDs may not like the manufacturers may not even bother with properly programming the SPDs. So you won't know what it is until it like hits a frequency or a TRCD or a TRFC wall, which would kind of give you some indication of what memory chip it is, or if you see like there's some memory chips that scale negatively with voltage very very quickly, so like you can't go above 1.3 volts on them. So you know you get a kit like that, and it's just like oh, I guess I have some like I think micro. I can't. The thing is I've not like I don't have you know like behavior sheets for every single like behavior documentation for every single memory chip ever made, but there was definitely a lot of Micron DDR4 where it's like you go over 1.3 volts and it's not even going to post sometimes. Like that's the really fun stuff where it's like, oh, you raised the voltage too high, I'm not going to boot anymore. Um, yeah, that's why I would avoid 2400 rated kits because it's just like you're going to get everything and anything under the sun, and some of that's going to be good and some of that's going to be absolutely terrible. On the flip side, if you buy something that's rated at 3200, you're probably not going to get anything incredible, but at least you're not going to get the real garbage, right? Like you're not going to get the like worst case scenario memory sticks if you buy something that's actually rated at a decent speed. So in this price range, yeah, I'd probably just go for this. You know, Team Group is a reliable, well, I wouldn't say respectable. Like, they make RAM. They've been making RAM for ages. They know how to make RAM. There's not that much to putting memory chips onto a PCB. It's not like they're making the actual memory chips. They're just binning them, right? So it's kind of that. Um, but like, don't get me wrong. I don't mean like Team Group is some second-rate memory manufacturer. I meant that as like I wouldn't really like I just don't care that much about whose name is on the memory stick, right? Like it's just not a factor for me. I'm very much driven by like what is the speed, what is the cast latency, and once we start getting into the higher price points, what is the actual TRCD spec? Because if the TRCD is really loose, it's probably not worth paying money for. Because they're probably using some IC that you could get at a much, much lower cost, and then it's just like, well, why don't you just get the cheaper version of that? It's going to overclock roughly the same. So yeah, anyway, let's get out of the bottom here. You know what, considering I just mentioned that you should not consider memory kits rated below, like, I would just not go below 3,000. Because there are some memory chips that will not go above 3,000, and it's just like, yeah, I'd prefer to ignore that. So we're just gonna do this, which is really inefficient. I don't know why PC Part Picker doesn't have, like, they have a cast latency slider, which in my opinion is completely stupid because, like, a CL16 memory kit, like, or no, like a CL12, well, okay, like, just, no, it's dumb. Like, there should be a frequency slider. If there's a cast latency slider, there should be a frequency slider. Anyway, so we're just going to go through all the different speeds. I picked up all of them, right? I didn't miss anything. Good. So now let's start going through this because now we have memory kits that aren't terrible, or at least pass the basic, quality test of it's at least rated at 3,000 megahertz, so it can't possibly do worse than that, ignoring some potential compatibility issues. But you won't know, like if you buy a 2,400 megahertz rated kit, those same compatibility issues still exist, and you still you're just not going to run into them at the XMP profile because the XMP profile is so low. Right? It's like, so, yeah. Anyway. So, oh yeah, so basically, I guess we should just talk about these. So, Crucial recently replaced their old Ballistics LT series with these. This is basically the same stuff, so it's Micron Rev E memory. So that's it can go, like, a kit like this, I would easily expect it to go over 4,000 megahertz. Yeah, these are a really good budget option as far as I'm concerned. Like if you want budget RAM, this is what I would go for. And then honestly, I would ignore everything else. And you can get them in a variety of different colors, so you don't even have to pay the RGB tax, right? Like you can get them in black, white, red, which admittedly is not that much variety. But the thing is, if you want an RGB memory kit, you're going to be paying at least 77, and this is an ADATA 3000 CL16. I'm going to guess that's a 1618 kit, which I hate memory specs. I hate how bad the... Wait, I want to click on the link. Oh, it's not even available, so we can just ignore that. Yeah, but if like a CL16 of 3000, that's probably 16, 18, 18, and therefore not worth considering on the basis that it's going to be like that's it's a lottery bin again, where like the same is true if you buy like this right here. Right, that's also a lottery bin, but this is a lottery bin rated 200 megahertz higher, so worst case scenario, it's still going to at least do 3200, ignoring compatibility issues that are still a potential risk with either option. So yeah, and by compatibility issues, I mean like X99. X99 does not do 3200 megahertz regularly. And then Ryzen first gen, right? Ryzen first gen also doesn't, and second gen can occasionally get dodgy. And then there's also a bunch of there's I think some B350 motherboards that are absolutely atrocious at memory overclocking. There's also some X370 motherboards that are it doesn't matter what RAM you have, it's just going to be a very bad time because the motherboards weren't they're like the first wave of motherboards designed for the CPUs, so the motherboards don't match the memory controller very well. Essentially, it's like that's the way you can think about it. It's just like the motherboard is not designed to play to the strengths of to compensate for the weaknesses of the memory controller, right? And then you're just kind of screwed. Anyway, so let's go through here. So Yeah, so what, like, if you want RGB, well, I guess you're gonna pay $5 more and also not know what you're gonna get, which is the part where I'm like, why would you do that? Oh yeah, so Crucial also has a 3200 option. Like, these two are basically the same thing. This might be a better bin, slightly. I'm not sure on, like, I'm not sure on Crucial's binning policy, so these might be slightly better. Basically, whichever set of these is cheaper is whichever one I'd go for. Like, if these 3000 ones are $75 and these are almost 80, then I'd get the $75 option. If these are $75, then I'd get these. And if these are on sale and these aren't on sale, then get the ones that are on sale, because it's literally like a slightly different speed bin of the same memory chips from Micron, and they're good memory chips. Their Rev E is great. It goes really fast. It just does really loose timings. Which is a lot better than what you can say for something like, say, 8 gigabit AFR, which neither goes fast nor does good timings. So, it's like that's kind of the thing, is like, and I don't I don't consider Rev E a particularly like high performance memory chip, but at least it's not AFR or MFR or like, there's potentially even worse options out there. I'm just not aware of what they even are. There's a lot of memory chips that exist, and I've not tested every single one ever made. So what do we have here? So yeah, so these 3200 ballistics, I'd be totally cool with going for those. Then we have a bunch of Rainbow Puke. That's and then we get our first 3600 megahertz kit. So this I would actually go for if you're building a third gen Ryzen system. I would totally go for this, because it's 3600, and with Ryzen 3rd gen you get a huge performance uplift. Well, okay, it's not that big, but in a lot of scenarios you get a very nice performance uplift by just running the FCLK at 1800 megahertz instead of like 1600 or 1400 or 1200. And the FCLK on auto settings is tied to your memory frequency, so it runs at whatever your memory frequency is. So if you buy a 2400 megahertz memory kit, you're essentially underclocking the equivalent of your North Bridge. Well, you're not really underclocking it, but if you buy like a 3600 kit, you're overclocking the equivalent of the North Bridge of the CPU. It's kind of like it's a bit like the Uncore clock on Intel chips, except not like the similar idea behind what it does, but the impact it has on performance is much larger. So with a kit like this, the whole idea is like, it's cheap, it's 3600, you buy it, you stick it in your system, you enable the XMP profile, you don't touch anything else, and you're going to get a nice amount of performance right off the bat. Even though, like, I'm fully aware that this is 18, 22, 22, 42, which is like terrible as far as timings are concerned. But you should actually, like, if you want to tune these a little bit, you should be able to. Because there's not really, I'm not aware of any memory chips that like don't do that, can't like that do 3600 but don't go past that. There's plenty of memory chips that wall in the sort of 3200 to 3500 region, but once you get to 3600, it's like you can probably go well over like you can potentially go over 4000. So, I would expect this to actually have some overclocking headroom. And the auto timings, like, the thing is, the big performance bump is not so much from the memory timings with Ryzen 3rd gen, it's from the fact that the FCLK is uplifted. Now, obviously, if you also had good timings, that would be nice. But just as a starting point, having 3600, 18, 22, 22, like, this is already on par with something like a 3200, 16, 18, 18. Like, your cast latency is equivalent. 3618 is the same thing as 3200 CL16. So the stock performance of this kit, I really like it. It should have some overclocking headroom, but if you're going to be overclocking, I would just buy this. Right? Like, honestly, I would just buy this because this is cheaper, and with all probability, Corsair's memory chips I would expect to see in this are like Hynix DJR, Hynix CJR, Micron Rev E, what else is there? Samsung D-Die, Samsung C-Die, C-Die being absolutely... Actually, I'm not sure C-Die can do this, but C-Die is terrible, so that's kind of like... That's worst case scenario for this, is that it would end up with like Samsung C-Die in it. If it ends up with D-Die in it, it should be pretty decent. what other memory vendors do we have? Well, that's kind of it, you know. So you basically get a bunch of memory chips that probably go over 4,000. They just don't necessarily do good timings, and that's fine. Like, honestly, for this price point, like, you can't really ask for more. Though again, if you're going to overclock, I would just get the crucials are just going to be like, these are guaranteed basically to be Rev E, and because of that, like, these are probably going to these can do an overclock that's probably going to end up being better than stock this. So if you're going to overclock these, if you're not going to overclock, this actually is a pretty decent deal. Also, if you put two sets of these together and run them dual rank on like 3rd gen Ryzen or well, like any dual, like if on any dual channel CPU, running two sets of this together should compensate for the for the terribleness of the timings. At the same time, if that isn't work, like if you buy two of these and it doesn't work, you're not going to be able to like go and like RMA them. Though I guess if you're within the return window for the memory, then you know that's not really a problem. So yeah, if you're going to buy two sets, once you enable the XMP first thing, check that it's stable, and then if it's not stable, probably you might have to return them, because the thing is, like, 2x8, like buying two sets of 2x8 can work just fine a lot of the time. Even if you, like, my daily system is two different sets of 2x8 from two different vendors at two different specs, but that's because I know what memory chips are on there and that they use the same PCBs. The thing is, if you're buying fresh 2x8 memory kits and you don't know what you're getting, like, you won't know what's on the memory stick until it turns up at your door. The problem there is, like, if it doesn't work together, well, it's not a 4x8 kit, so you can't go like, oh, it doesn't work together, it's defective. No, each kit individually might work just fine. The fact that you put two of them together and it doesn't work, well, that's your problem. So that's kind of the thing about, like, I regularly put two by 8 kits together. But again, I don't expect to get support if it doesn't work, okay? Because it's not it's not guaranteed by the manufacturer. That's sort of the like, that's the reason why you pay so much more for the 4x8 kits, is like, these are tested and guaranteed to be the same thing, like well-matched sticks that will work together no matter what. Whereas if you're buying two random memory kits of two memory sticks, there's a chance that you might get that one combination that just doesn't work together. Anyway, that is a solid option for like just an XMP kit. What else do we have? Ooh, CJR. So this is pretty much, yeah, 17, 19, 19 at 3600. If you want a guaranteed set of CJR, this is it. It might also end up being DJR, which DJR is basically CJR but better. CJR is, like, in my testing, CJR is ever so slightly better than Rev E, mostly because it does slightly lower TRFC. Yeah, mostly because it just does lower TRFC, and that's it. So, yeah. At the same time, CJR is CJR does have a frequency disadvantage, so maybe if you were going for like a Threadripper build, I would go for Rev E. If you were going for, because on Threadripper it actually makes sense to go stupid high frequency. But, yeah, on other platforms, I would be very happy to run this. Because, yeah, and that's $90 is not the best price for CJR, but... Because the thing is, like, the difference between CJR and Rev E in terms of performance is very minor. Like, it exists, and you can measure it, but it's very small, and so it's like... Do you really want to pay do you really want to pay... Okay, well, it's 84. Like, yeah, like, still, though, that's like, what, $8 more? Like, you could go $8 more into your heatsink, or $8 more into your motherboard, or... Actually, I'd probably go $8 more into the heatsink. You know, if you're on a cheap heatsink, that's going to be a nice little upgrade. So, yeah. But this is CJR, and it's, like, you know, it's a nice cheap option in my opinion, for that. 3400 CL16. This could be interesting. It's probably just more CJR, but yeah, this is probably just more CJR. But it might not be terrible, and it's about the same price. So, you know, like, same issue as the other CJR kit. Is just like, wish it was kind of cheaper. This would, well, this has a slight advantage on the, like, you know, enable XMP and forget about it factor, where it's a 3600 kit. So it's pretty much guaranteed, like, on any new platform, this is pretty much guaranteed to work. On Ryzen, what you will notice is if you enable the XMP, it won't be running 171919, it'll be running 181919. And the reason that happens is just Ryzen can't do even cast latencies until you disable gear down mode, which is basically a stability booster that requires even some of the timings to be even. So, yeah, and you don't really want to disable gear down mode because it has a very high probability of making your memory very unstable. So if you don't want to mess with memory overclocking, like, and you buy this kit and then you enable the XMP, like, yeah, it's going to run 181919, which is still going to be faster than, 18222242. Just going to point that out. Like, this is slightly better timings than that. I mean, this. But, like, yeah, it's also, is it cheap? It's $1 more. So yeah, actually for $1 more, I'd go for this, right? For just XMP and forget about it factor. What else do we have? Oh, we have 3600. These are even more expensive. Like, this is just the same thing as the blackouts, and I actually I like the look of the heatsinks on the blackouts better than this. Like, these heatsinks are incredibly, like, I have a bunch of these and I like them. But the heat spreaders are my least favorite part of the entire memory kit. I don't want Patriot to change it, though, because I'm pretty sure the heat spreaders on these being so awful is why they're so cheap. So I don't like paying high prices for memory. So yeah, I'm complaining that the heat spreaders feel cheap, but I do like that the memory is cheap. So they can keep the cheap heat spreaders. I'm just pointing it out. They do feel pretty cheap. And in this case, like, you're paying $1 more for the worst heat spreader on... Where did that other kit go? Yeah, see? So, like, same spec, and you're paying $1 more, and you're getting the worst heat spreader. So, yeah, anyway, 34... This is CJR. This is going to be CJR from Patriot. Basically the same issue as the G.skill kit, and again, it's just $2 more expensive than the blackouts. But I guess if you want a red heat spreader instead of a black heat spreader, there's your, that's an option. Oh, though you'll have to, like, that one you'll have to manually overclock because the XMP isn't particularly great. Let's scroll back up to the top. What do we have here? Worthless. Is this EU? How is what? Okay. Yeah. Just no. No. Like, if this was like $75, I'd say maybe, but no. Like, at 85, no. Actually, it's not even 85, it's 86. No. Just no. Like, if it was cheaper, like a lot, like $10 cheaper, sure. At this price, no. Of course, what else do we have? 3200, 3466, 3733, more CJR. I would not recommend this, honestly. Like, it's very unlikely that this is going to be significantly different in terms of bin quality to this, and this is cheaper. So just get this. That's the same logic for why I'll recommend these sticks over basically every other kit of Rev E, because Rev E, like, there is definitely some variance, and great Rev E is significantly faster than bad Rev E. Or, well, this isn't even like, well, I don't know that these are, I've heard of some Rev E being absolutely atrocious, so these are probably like average, as far as like Rev E quality goes. Again, I've just not tested like the full range of Rev E memory ever produced. I guess, the binning rejects end up in the trash cans behind Micron, so you wouldn't actually get to test those because those are the ones that don't even run. When your memory chip lost the silicon lottery so hard that it doesn't turn on. But yeah, that's the thing is, like, there is a measurable difference between good Rev E and bad, like average Rev E and then bad Rev E. But the thing is, average Rev E is not that much slower than great Rev E, but great Rev E is extremely expensive, right? So it doesn't make sense to me to go and spend the money on like top bin Rev E when you could just get average bin Rev E and still have the majority of the performance at like potentially half the price. So similarly, it doesn't make sense to me to spend more on a slightly different bin of CJR, which is like, it's still CJR. Like, you're not fundamentally changing what the memory chip is. So it's not really going to be that different. especially since this is only like a 133 megahertz difference. So it's just like, yeah, no, that's not worth considering. 3016, awful. 3216. Oh, look, RGB tax. See, 89.99 instead of 75.99. $15 more so that you can get rainbow puke on your memory sticks. So anyway, let's keep scrolling through. 3616. Oh, this, okay, yeah. So these crucials, this is like, if you don't want to overclock and you want a good XMP, these should be solid. And actually, this should be a good bin, because so the main limiting factor of Rev E is not like frequency. It's the fact that the TRCD generally has to be horribly loose. And 3600 with TRCD 18 is actually pretty good. Like, my sticks of Rev E don't do TRCD 18 stable at 3600 megahertz. That's just not a thing. So, not a thing for mine. So this is actually like a significantly better bin than these, and I'm just not sure. At the same time, you could get CJR, and that'll probably run circles around this. Or, well, not run circles around this, but be ever so slightly faster while also being, like 84 instead of 93. So, but again, they're going to be really similar, so just, like, if you're going to overclock, just buy these, right? If you're going to XMP, then these don't really have much of an advantage, because on XMP, like, when you enable the XMP, the difference between, like, this kit and the Patriots is going to be, so these are going to run 18, 19, 19, 39, and these are going to run 16, 18, 18, 38. That's like a couple nanoseconds of latency, but it's not going to, it's not a performance difference that you're going to notice in day-to-day usage at all. Like, synthetic benchmarks will pick up on that, but you will not notice the difference using your system in like 2 ticks of cast latency and 1 tick of everything else. Like, yeah. So I do not consider that worth it. But if you're into overclocking Rev E and you want like a stronger bin than like, if you want memory for the sake of playing with overclocking, then this is actually a solid option on the basis that it's a relatively low TRCD flavor of Rev E. Crucial has also a 4000 at TRCD 19 bin, which is very expensive most of the time. And that stuff is like, yeah, if you're gonna be overclocking, like, if you want to buy Rev E for the sake of overclocking it, go for that. Like, totally go for that, because that's where you get the sort of like great Rev E separates itself from average Rev E on the fact that the TRCD is just several ticks lower for any given frequency. And it also shifts the frequency a wall way up, because it's just like, well, it's just better. So, yeah, if you want to, like, if you specifically want to overclock Rev E, go for it. If you just want a good performing memory kit, I don't really see the point in these. If they get cheaper, though, then they're a solid option. So what else do we have here? A bunch of 3000 garbage. 3866. So I've heard of some people getting this kit in Samsung BDI, but I've got mine in CJR. I have a set of this in CJR at $95, like paying $95 for CJR, not worth it when you can pay $84 for the similar quality CJR from the same vendor with nicer heat sinks. So, yeah, moving on. Do we have anything decent? 3600 G.skill. Nah. It's like that Corsair kit, but more expensive. Right? Like, it's just this, but worse, because you spend more. So, anyway, moving on. Yeah, so at this point, I feel like we're moving out of the sort of budget memory range and more into the, like, I want to, like, more overclocking enthusiast range memory, as well as the RGB tax memory kits, right? This is where you're paying through the nose to get the rainbow puke. And then you get something like this. Now, these should be Samsung BDI still. And I say should be because it used to be that Team Group's web page for these, like, very specifically said hand-picked or not hand-picked, but like binned Samsung memory ICs. But I do believe they've taken off the part saying Samsung of that. So now it's just like heavily sorted ICs, and I'm like, if I find CJR in my memory kit, I am going to blow a fuse. I don't care how high bin the CJR is. It's just not acceptable. But these should still be B-die. Like, I've not yet heard of anybody getting a set of these with something other than B-die. So maybe they're just rolling out different product lines that no longer use B-die, but they're not touching the existing SKUs, which this SKU's been around for ages and ages and ages. So this should be a solid option for getting B-die. What else do we have? 3466, 16. Nah, that's not a hard bin. So, well, technically this isn't a hard bin either, but I don't know, like Team Group just seems to put B-die in those. But here's a guarantee. I think, yeah, I'd assume it might end up being DJR. Like, the thing is, like, I know for a fact that there's B-die sets of these, and I'd expect the majority of these to be B-die. But this is no longer like Rev E can technically do this. DJR can definitely do this. Some CJR I don't think can do. Actually, I'm not sure that DJR can do this. I think DJR might need 22 instead of 21. And I don't think Patriot uses microns, though I'm not 100% certain on that. So this is probably B-die, and it's $105 or $15. So yeah, if you want B-die and you want it cheap, this looks like a really solid option. Like, I'd go for those. This is probably yeah, if I had $115 to spend on a memory kit, let's just see that there's nothing like, you know, that's hard B-die bin where it's like 4,019 and guaranteed to not suck. Well, this is guaranteed to be CJR, so I don't know why you would want to buy that. For $120, you can get yourself some CJR. It's incredible what you can, like, I don't get why we have so many different SKUs of memory. Like, it's been one thing I've been wondering about, like, why does all of this stuff exist? Like, most of it's just slightly different flavors of the same thing at $10 higher, and it's just like, why? Like, I pity whoever buys this. Apparently a lot of people. Well, I'm very sorry for them. Because they could have got, like, this instead, and it would have basically been the same thing. Plus, this ships at 1.35 volts, so if you bump up that voltage by 50 millivolts, I'm sure it would do 16, 19, 19 as well. Anyway, what else do we have? Yeah, so in this range, like, there's actually nothing I'm seeing here that's, like, actually a better option than those blackouts. So, solid option right there. I like those. Let's see, what else do we have? 3600. Why is that not the same thing? It is the same thing. No. Oh, because Neo and regular Trident ZRGB and then Royals, which 3200 CL60. Oh man, like it's because it's gold, right? Oh, this is good. 3200, 14, B-die. Good B-die. Definitely B-die. Guaranteed B-die. Very like, go for it. Knock yourself out. So yeah, if you want to overclock, this is another solid option. Let's keep scrolling through. Well, I regret seeing that. Like, I did not realize they were charging that much for the fancy heat spreaders. Oh well. Let's keep scrolling. Oh, 4400s. Oh, I have a bunch of these. So, I have 4 sticks of this. This stuff is awesome. These are absolutely amazing. This is B-die. It is amazing memory. I don't know. Oh, man, it even mentions me here. I'm famous! Yeah, these are freaking awesome. Like, absolutely freaking awesome. Like, I would, like, just, you want B-die? You want it good? You don't want to spend, like, whatever the hell G.skill's charging for a halfway decent kit? This. Buy these, or buy these, or these. These are probably the weakest bin out of all of the ones I've just gone over. Like, these are these are definitely solid. These are extremely solid. These are so freaking good. So, yeah, I love these. Though, admittedly, they do have the cheap, crappy heat spreaders. But, you know, nothing a cheap, crappy fan can't solve. So, and also, you're just not going to get a memory kit. Like, the thing is, even if you end up with these being thermally limited when overclocking them, there's nothing at this price range that's going to match them. Except maybe like this, right? Like, this is like the only competition these have. And if you fix the cooling issues, I'd expect these to probably... Well, actually, I don't know how, like, how tight the binning is for either of... Like, I have 4 sets of these, and like 4 sticks of these, and all of them are great. Whereas, I've never used one of these, but this is B-Die, and it's a very popular kit, and a lot of people have had great results out of it. And, like, it's B-Die, and it's actual, like, it's a hard bin. It's a 14, 14, 14, 31. Like, you're not gonna get bad B-Die in a bin like this, but I've just never worked with one of these, so... Yeah, I'm not sure. These should be definitely solid. These are definitely solid. I love these. Mostly because they're $130 and 4400 CL19. Like, why does it, like, literally everything past that kit is like, why does this exist? It costs more and it's not going to beat it. Let's see if I can prove myself wrong. And then, okay, these I might consider. Because they're 18, 20, 20. See, that's technically looser. Because that's 4,300. And the TRCD, though, the thing is, like, the funny thing is, the TRCD that you see on a lot of memory kits is not necessarily set by the capabilities of the memory chips. It's to reduce the load on the memory controller. Because at, say, let's say, like, 4,400 megahertz, my 9900K is completely incapable of running memtest with less than a TRCD of 17. Like, the memory sticks can definitely go below 17 TRCD, but the CPU can't. So what you'll see is a lot of the really sort of high-frequency kits, their TRCD will be disproportionately loose relative to the capabilities of the memory chips, because if the TRCD was any tighter, you'd start running into memory controllers not being able to run it. So that's kind of the reason why, like, so this could actually, like, this is maybe a tighter bin, actually, just because this is probably, like, the 2020-40 is there for compatibility reasons, not because of, like, the quality of the sticks themselves. So anyway, let's keep scrolling. Yeah, see? Elites from Crucial. And this I would just not get, because that is just completely replaced by these. Yeah, 3600, 16, 18, 18, 38. 3600, 16... What? Why? What? Where? Awful. Absolutely unacceptable. But these are supposed to be 16, 18, 18. Like, I remember the spec for these because I spend way too much time looking at memory kits going like, ooh, I'd like to test this. And then going like, but... and then going like, but actually, maybe not. Have too much stuff to do already. But, yeah, so these are 18, like, these are 16, 18, 18. And there's no point getting these at this point because Crucial's just replaced them with this. So, anyway, let's move on. What else do we have? Like, honestly, at this point, I would just ignore the rest. Like, we're not going to really find anything that beats the Patriots. Like, it's really that simple at this point. Like, what do you expect? I don't know. Like, because it's not just, like, it's not just the spec. It's also the price. This is $130 for, like, the best bin of B-Die that Patriot makes. Like... For comparison, you know, like, if you want the top bin from Corsair, then I think it's this. Which, yeah. Also, actually, that looks like Rev E timings. This might actually be Rev E at this point. I'm not sure. It could be either. Like, it's a great bin of Rev E, no doubt, but... Like, these exist. Like, that's the whole issue. Like, these exist. So, yeah. And it just gets worse, honestly, because we just have all of these kits up here where it's like, but why wouldn't you just get this instead? I guess, like, some people might be like, oh, but Buildzoid is not RGB, and, oh, Buildzoid, it's not, like... I don't know. Like the heat spreaders aren't the best heat spreaders I've ever seen. I'll acknowledge that. I do wish the heat spreaders were nicer, but like $130. Like this is so cheap that you could just water cool the bloody memory sticks. Like you could buy a kit of this and build a water loop, like water cooling loop, just for the memory sticks, and it would still be cheaper than some of the kits up here. And at that point, it doesn't matter that the heat spreaders suck, right? So, like, I don't get how memory kits end up with price tags like this. Like, I just don't get it. Like, why do these exist? Who do they expect to sell these to? And I pity whoever ends up spending that much for memory kits. At the same time, like, I do think some of these speed bins are pretty cool. It's just that, like, the prices aren't. Like, I'm a massive cheapstake, and it's just like, nope, that's not, nope, just nope. I think there are a few kits that I've considered, like, kind of interesting from the perspective of just, like, there's, like, 3600 CL14s, but I'm certain that actually Corsair has a cheaper version of that. This is 230, so that is ridiculous. Like, if you're not going to overclock, then this is the best you can get without overclocking. Like, yeah, if you want to enable XMP on a Ryzen system and just forget about it, this is it. But that's $230, and I'm pretty sure Corsair has a cheaper option. So let's go find that cheaper option. Also, the Patriots are likely to sell out after this video, potentially. I don't know how much sway I have, but if they do sell out, then, you know, something like this is a good option. This is a great option. This is a great option. This is not. Alright, so I think, like, Corsair has a 3600 CL14 kit, and it wasn't that ridiculously expensive last I saw it. So I'm trying to find that, because it's like, that, yeah, no, that's 18. Is it just not, like, listed right now on PC Part Picker? It might be sold out. Yeah, there's just nothing, like... Well, these are all B-die. This section right here, that's a bunch of B-die. But again, it's just like, well, I don't know. I just, like, these, you can spend $30 less and get the Patriots. and then the question is, why wouldn't you? Also, this right here is CJR, or some form of, actually, no, it's not CJR. It's probably DJR. So if you're interested in overclocking DJR, then yeah, you probably want to get this. But if you actually just want high performance memory, you don't want to get this, because Hynix DJR is not Samsung B-die. And unfortunately, we have not, like, there's not yet been a memory chip that beats a Samsung B-die, which is kind of lame in my opinion. It would be really cool if you could just buy something that's cheaper for, like, overclocking purposes that was faster, but so far such a chip has not been found. So, that's a real shame. But where on earth? Like, I am 99% certain that Corsair has a 3614 bin that wasn't as overpriced as G.skill's. And yet, I can't find it. It's not that. That's awful. Oh, this is... Okay, so this is a memory kit that I actually, like, really... Like, this looks cool on paper. It's Rev E. And it's kind of, like, just 4266 at CL16. Like, it just looks insane. And B-die can do that, but, like, you can't buy a kit that's rated at 4266 CL16 out of the box. But this is Rev E. Like, I've confirmed that this is Rev E, and it's probably a really nice, well, I'm not sure really nice, but it should be a nice bin of Rev E. And like, it's one of those kits where it's like, if it was cheaper, I would be very interested in testing it out, but it's literally, like, I can buy 2 sets of these. And if I buy 2 sets of these, then I can run them dual rank, and that makes these even faster. Like, that's the other crazy part about these, is like, well, if they're not fast, if 2 of them is not fast enough, just get 4. Admittedly, at that point, you might run into issues with your memory controller, but, you know, that's not my problem. Um, so, man, why are there 3600 CL17 kits for prices like this? Like, what is this? How does this sell? Is there like a pricing history where it wasn't? Oh, I guess they're just... Oh, no, like... Oh, PC part picker is just being stupid. Well, at 160, it's still not great, but it's a lot better than before. Uh, oh, there it is. Okay, yeah, so that's a cheaper option. Unfortunately, it's also a slightly looser option because Corsair takes the whole TRCD for compatibility thing a lot further than some of the other vendors. Which is like they also have a really crazy kit that's like 4400 CL17, but with a TRCD of 22, and it's like really like it should be some really nice B die. And I say should be like it's definitely B die. I just not 100% certain that the quality is definitely going to be amazing. But yeah, they've been at 17, 22, 22 because it's like, well, it's 4 sticks, and if you put it onto your average 9900K memory controller, it is just gonna die if you try to run it at CL. Like if you tried TRCD 17, it would just not go anywhere. Even though I'd be very surprised if the sticks couldn't do TRCD 17. It's just a case of like, but can the memory controller? Probably not. So instead, they've been it for 22, and I just realized this video is way too long. So guess we're just gonna quickly try run through the 4x8 options. Or actually, no. I don't know. Actually, no. I want to scroll down to that insane Corsair kit if I can find it quickly. It shouldn't be too hard. You already know how much it's gonna cost. An arm and a leg. Where is it? Oh, is it not that expensive? How did that happen? Or it's not available. Like one of those two. No, that's 4019. Like the thing for me is like I guess for a lot of people buying the insanely like ridiculous high price kits is like, well, you know, you don't have to know how to manually set up your memory then, which I guess is a advantage. But I don't know, for like like are you sure you don't want to just learn how to overclock your own memory instead? I feel like I feel like that's the more cost-effective option for a lot of people. And also, I can't find the Insanity kit from Corsair, which is a shame. Because I think it's a really cool kit. Yeah, I just can't find it. 4260. No, they have a 4400 CL17, and it's just like absolutely incredible to me that that can exist. But yeah, apparently it's not exactly available. It's also probably actually it is very expensive last I checked. So, oh, there it is. Yeah, this stuff. Yeah. And like that. And that's entirely so that it doesn't just, you know, like the issue is if they ran that TRCD any lower, there's a very good chance that you install it into, you know, like you install it with like an average 9900K, it just isn't going to post. Like it's not even going to like it's not even going to post, much less run memtest. If they ran it at like because realistically, if you had a good enough CPU, I'd expect a kit like this to do like 17 17 17. Because BDI generally does TRCD equal to TCL. And or it's like TCL +1, in which case, well, actually, there's a lot of kits that'll do TCL -1, so then you'd have like a 4400, 17, 16, 16. But, you know, 17, 16, 16 at 4400 on 4 memory sticks is just like memory controller, like that's the end of your memory controller, right? So, yeah, there's a reason why they don't bin it like that. They bin it 1722 because if they ran it any tighter, it would probably have a... Like, they'd have to deal with a lot of RMAs otherwise, which they probably don't want to do on a kit like this. But, yeah, that's the thing is just like... Also, I think I'll just end this video here because it's just way too long. Like, we're not going to actually get through the 4x8 or the 2x16. Because the thing is, like, 4x... Okay, you know what? We're not going to... No, I don't like stalling out for... I don't like sitting on information. So we're going to do 2x16, and 4x8, we're just going to... I'm just going to counter to 4x8 by saying, learn how to overclock your RAM by these, or these, or these, or, well... Or these, right? Learn how to overclock your memory and then buy any of these 2x8 BDI kits. And then, like, you have to know how to overclock your memory with these because if you don't, like, you're going to be on your own if it doesn't work, right? Like, that's the main issue with taking 2 sets of 2x8s and trying to run them together is, like, you're probably not going to get much, if any, support from the memory vendor because they don't officially support that. If they did, they'd be selling it as a 4x8 option. But if you've seen the 4x8 options, they generally have somewhat looser timings and much higher price tags, like compared to just putting 2, 16 gig kits together. So anyway, let's take a look around 2x16 land. So 2x16 land. If you're on Ryzen, I honestly wouldn't even recommend getting 2x16. Like, again, just get these. These are amazing. Seriously, if you need 32 gigs of RAM, get these. But if you're on, say, an ITX motherboard, these are, like, a good option then. If you have an X299 motherboard with only 4... Well, there's very few people who have X299 motherboards with only 4 DIMM slots. So, yeah, I get the 2x16 just is a very exotic memory configuration. But there are scenarios where it makes sense. It's just that in a lot of those scenarios, you're potentially better off just running 4x8 because 4x8 is just so much more common as a, like, it's just better supported because it's more common, whereas 2x16 is kind of rare. So as a result of that, the BIOSes have a lot of motherboard BIOSes have a really hard time running 2x16 kits, whereas 4x8 just works when theoretically they should be, like, 4x8 should not necessarily have a major advantage over 2x16, but then you run 2x16 and it's like, the motherboard just has no idea what to do about these memory sticks and you're screwed. So yeah, let's take a look around. So again, Crucial's an option, which is why I'm trying to find them. And I think they're actually, what's the lowest price? Well, I mean, it's 3,000 at the very least, so I'd take it. Like, someday I'd like to test some of the really, like, low-cost memory kits, but at the same time, I don't really want to add garbage memory to my... I don't really want to, like, have a garbage memory kit. Like, I'd feel bad, like, selling it on to somebody else, because I'd, like, I'd have to buy it just because it's just, like, if it's terrible, then, I'd get some very... like, angry emails about, like, how could you possibly say that in a review of our memory kit? And it's like, I'm sorry that it sucks, but it does. Anyway, this is going to be Rev E. It should be dual rank, so I'd totally go for these. Actually, no, it not should be dual rank. If it's Rev E, it has to be dual rank. And, yeah, $150, 32 gigs. This should be great. This should be a really good option as a memory kit. So I'd totally go for those. Then I assume they have a 3200. Yeah, they have a slightly more expensive 3200 version. So, and the funny thing is, these are literally the same price as buying 2 sets of the other ones. So, like, 2 sets of the 3000 is, or actually 2 sets. So, no, they are raising the price a little bit. They're bumping it up like 10-ish dollars almost. So, yeah, but those are good. Like, I'd recommend those because Rev E is good. That's all that really goes into that. Well, not so much Rev E is good, it's just really cost effective, which is good. Like, that's a good metric, right? Cost effectiveness. And then there's raw performance, in which case you get these. Um, what else is there? Then there's the RGB. It's just, I don't like RGB. Well, it's not that I don't like RGB, it's I don't like the associated cost of RGB. Just, I see the price tag go up and the performance doesn't change, and I'm just like, well, that's a nope. It's the same kit, but more expensive. Why would I pay that? Let's see. I'm looking for something that, like, has a decent spec. Like, this could be interesting. I think that might be B-die. But at the same time, that might be not so great B-die, which is a real concern, because bad B-die is terrible. Like, bad B-die is on the level of, like, Hynix AFR, at which point it's just like, well, why didn't you buy Hynix AFR? It would have been cheaper, wouldn't it? And yes, it would. That's when you feel like an idiot. 3616. Oh, so here we have a first RGB kit that kind of makes sense, on the basis that the non-RGB version costs the same amount. So, yeah, these... these are actually at a really nice XMP for, again, like, sticking it onto a Ryzen system and forgetting about it, right, where it's 1618. So, yeah, I would totally go for these, or if you don't like the Rainbow Puke, you can go for these. And I will continue to refer to RGB as Rainbow Puke, because I just find that a funny term. So, yeah, it's not because I hate RGB that much, it's just I think it's fun to call it Rainbow Puke. Anyway, what else do we have here? Garbage, that's what. 3200 CL16 at 205. And this is not the only one. Like, I'm trying to avoid picking on any one brand. Like, they're all very guilty of this. It's a real shame that Patriot doesn't make 2x16 kits. Like, not high-end ones. I guess there's just not much incentive for that, considering that 2x16 just isn't that common. Though this is actually a solid option, right? This is $240. So even by the, is it more cost effective than the Patriots? Well, yes, actually, because this is 3200, 1434. That's a B-die bin. That's a hard B-die bin. You know, $241. That's cheaper than the Patriots. Like, 2 sets of the Patriots cost more than this. Therefore, this is a cost-effective kit of B-die, and I can highly recommend it. We just measure everything by, like, you just measure everything against the most, you know, against the optimal memory kit, as far as I'm concerned. So, yeah, so that's a solid option. Those flares. I wonder if they have a cheaper flavor of that, like 3200 CL14. I would, a 3200 15 is also going to be B-die, but again, yeah, this is just that, like, I'm not that sure that that's going to be particularly good B-die. And if you're going to be, you know, like, and at this point, it's like, okay, well, how much money would you save? $30. At which point it's like, well, if it's bad B-die, you'd be better off having the crucials. And if it's, like, and you know, if you don't want, like, the risk, I would just go for the flares. Or the Ripjaws Vs, right? Because that's 3214. Literally, actually, yeah, this right here, this is a good part of this memory list right here. 3214 across the board, basically the same price for all of them. They're not even that, like, out there in terms of pricing. I'm just checking that I didn't miss. Yeah, I don't think I missed anything that was, like, better value. So, totally recommend all of those. Well, the thing is, like, these used to be cheaper. But I think I recommended them in a previous memory video, and now they're expensive. Like, now they're more expensive. So I guess maybe that's what happened to those. But yeah, that's a solid bin right there, right? 3214 total. Like, it's still the same. Like, the same. Like, I would consider this right here up to, oops. Yeah, up to this kit. That's all the same thing as far as I'm concerned. And then it's just like, whichever one is cheapest, go for it. What do we have here? 3600. Ew. Like, I saw the 19 and I was wondering if it's like maybe 4,000. It's like, nope. that's 3600. This is interesting though. I mean, it's Oloy, and I know nothing about the, like, I've never used a kit from them. And you know, they're, as far as I'm concerned, they're a new name. As for memory, see what the actual, like, okay. Okay, nope, 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 we are not doing that. That is 1923-23. That is very much not a B-die bin. I don't really want to know what it is, because it costs way too much for whatever it probably is. Oh, then we have some more 3214s from G.skill, but now overpriced instead of, well, like, why do these exist? Like, they already make more cost-effective, like, oh, right, these are RGB, that's why. Add RGB, add 10 like, what is it, $20 for these? Yeah, it's like $20 extra for the RGB, lovely. This is a 36, is it like straight 16s? Yeah, okay, it's straight 16. So here we have another nice strong B-die bin, but it's $300, and at that point, it's just like, you could get these, or, well, you could almost get these, but you could definitely get these and save money, or get these and save money. But yeah, this is not a terrible option as far as I'm concerned. And I guess if you don't, well, no, like if you're buying B-die, you're gonna overclock it. Because if you're running the XMP profile, Rev E performs basically, actually, not even basically the same, exactly the same as B-die. I've yet to see an XMP profile that makes a B-die kit noticeably B-die. Like, and I'm really sad about that, honestly. It's just like, I've not seen an XMP profile where it, like, runs the TRFC as low as it, like, lower. Like, it doesn't need to be as low as it can be, just lower than what you normally get, and that would already give you a nice performance boost. And an XMP profile that forces the TRRDs low. Though, admittedly, I've run into some issues where it's like, on certain BIOS versions with certain memory, certain motherboards, if you set TRRD 44, which is the sort of standard setting for all B-die for me, is like, yeah, it doesn't work. So, you know, that's why stock XMP settings are so garbage. But because the stock XMP settings are so garbage, it doesn't really matter what XMP you run as long as the primaries are similar, right? Not even the same, just similar. Like 16-16-16 is not that much better than 16-18-18. Where B-die absolutely obliterates everything is when you manually set up all of your subtimings, they're going to be like, you're going to have like half the TRFC of basically any other memory chip out there. And that alone leads to a pretty hefty performance advantage. Also, it's worth noting that on dual rank memory sticks, the like performance advantage from tight timings is smaller. So I would not buy this kit to run it at XMP. I would buy it for overclocking. And even if you're manually overclocking, this is probably like very much like, this should be a much, not much better, but this should be a better quality set of B-die than, you know, these, for example. At the same time, though, this is cheaper, and if you're just gaming, you're not going to notice that difference. Like, you know, like 1 or 2 ticks of any one timing is just, that's not something a human's going to notice. Benchmark, sure, but humans not. Humans are very slow. Memory is very fast, and so humans don't notice timing differences. But whereas benchmarks do. But yeah, so if like this is a kit that, you know, I'd want to play with it for like overclocking purposes, I would not necessarily want to put it into a daily system, because it's like, I can upgrade the heatsink, I can upgrade the motherboard with that, I can upgrade the GPU, right? Like, get a GPU with a better cooling system instead of this memory kit, and that, I think, is an upgrade you would notice far more than getting this memory kit, because like, well, now my GPU is quieter, right? Like, you could get, like, actually, if you go for the freaking like, if you went for the crucials, like these, right, so that they're at the same speed, like, if you went for these crucials, you save $100. Like, you can upgrade your cooler, your memory, your mother, you could upgrade you could put the $30 more into your motherboard, your PSU, and your cooler, or any 3 parts, or you could put, you know, like $15 more into 4 different parts. Like, just don't, like, yeah, this is not a kit that makes sense. And to that extent, even something like this is if you really want to play with overclocking your memory, as far as I'm concerned. If you want bang for buck, this is it. This right here. So, yeah, anyway, let's see if there's anything somewhat interesting. Yeah, no. It just gets worse. Like 2x16 kits really suffer from the whole being exotic as a memory configuration. Oh my god. Now this is something like this is a kit where I'd be very suspicious that there's a lot of motherboards that can't even boot with it. Like this is one of those kits where it's like I'm sure if you install this, like if you install this into a 4DIMM Z390, probably doesn't turn on. If you put this into many ITX boards, probably doesn't turn on. Uh, like, yeah, this is an interesting kit from a overclocker's perspective. This is not, and it's Rev E, okay? Like it's crucial. It's Rev E. It's not BDI. So this is some like for Rev E, I would not consider this an even remotely acceptable price because like we could literally just get BDI instead. Though at the same time, I wonder if BDI would ever like BDI 2x16 of BDI doing 4400 megahertz is extremely difficult. So this actually might have a performance advantage over BDI just because it won't clock so badly. And this might make sense for something like a Threadripper. Though at the same time, you could also just buy 2 sets of this for your Threadripper and then manually overclock it, and it'll probably end up with the same results as this. So yeah, no, this is like cool from a sort of like this is probably some crazy top bin Rev E, but it's still Rev E. So from a daily user perspective, Crucial makes the, you know, best alternative to it already. And from an overclocker's perspective, well, if you ask me, I'm not paying $500 for a memory kit. Like I don't care how good the memory kit is. I am not paying $500. That is way too much. Though I do think like it's a cool spec. It's a really cool spec. It's not a spec I want to buy. It's way too expensive. What else do they have? 4,400. Yeah. Yeah, 2x16 is like, well, no. So basically for 2x16, I recommend, actually we should pick out a like a good actually we got that. We got that here. Yeah, enable the XMP, forget about it. This is your choice. You want to overclock, get this or any of the other 3200 CL14s. And if you don't want to overclock BDI and you want to overclock something else, get this again, right? Like that's the thing, is just like get this, because yeah. So these are good options, and then for 2x8, these are great. These are good. These are great. Well, I don't know that they're great, but these should be good. These are probably good. What else do we have? Yeah, go for the totally. Well, actually, no, I don't like these. These are too much. Like, because these are like fire and forget XMP, and in that case, you can just go for this or this, right? And this is actually the better pick in that case. I'm just surprised that this is so cheap right now. I don't like if it stays at this price, go for it. If it gets more expensive, then well. I mean, what's the price difference? This is 80. This is 83. This is going to be like 90, I guess, based on the Amazon pricing. And it's been 95 sometimes. Alright, how cheap has this ever been? Well, like between these two, whichever one is cheaper, right? So, and anything that has a similar spec to this, I would consider like around this price range. Look for like 3600 CL17-ish. And then if you're going to manually overclock your memory and you just want maximum bang for the buck, these are going to be great. These are going to be absolutely amazing. So, yeah, that is the unnecessarily long going shopping for memory kits with Buildzoid video. I just felt like shooting this. I don't really think it was like the most video ever. Don't consider this the greatest video ever. I'll probably do like a condensed version of like, hey, these are memory kits I would recommend right now. Instead of going through with all of the colorful commentary about why do the $500 memory, like who buys them? Like I still don't get it. Like who do they sell those memory kits to? Why do they list them? Like So yeah, but so you know, I'll do a version without all the colorful commentary, probably, where it's just like, yeah, this is a good kit, this is a good kit. I guess I could make this a bonus video and then make like the public version, but no, I don't know. I could, well, I could violate my policy of a video every 2 days, and that, well, I've already violated it horribly. So the policy's out the window. We can just do both. So yeah, that's it for the video. So like, share, subscribe, leave any comments, questions, suggestions down in the comment section below. There is no point watching, if you've watched to this point in this video, to the end of this, there's no point watching the other video that I'll be uploading about memory, because it's just going to be like the condensed version of this. Some people, like, if you like listening to my voice, here's an hour of my voice is the purpose of this video. So yeah, that's it. Thanks for watching, and wait, no, I forgot to do the, like, I have a Patreon. You can support me through that. That way I can buy more unnecessary memory kits. Actually, no, that way I can buy some of the memory kits where I'm like, ooh, this is interesting. Like, I'd really like to test some G.skill memory, and this, well, I don't know, what about UK? No, let's not do that right now. But yeah, I have a Patreon that allows me to potentially buy memory kits instead of trying to convince manufacturers that sending me their overpriced memory kit is a good idea. It's like, I'll just not talk about the price point then. We'll just pretend that it doesn't cost, like, yeah. Anyway, yeah, so there's a Patreon for that. What else is there? Oh, right, there's also the Teespring store, which achieves exactly the same thing as the Patreon, at least from my perspective, except unlike the Patreon, you get a shirt or sticker or a poster or a hoodie. There's hoodies as well, and socks. And yeah, so you get stuff in return if you go to the AHOC Teespring store. And you get to support the channel that way instead. So there's links to both the Patreon and the Teespring store down in the description below. So if you'd like to check those out, that would be awesome. And yeah, that's it for the video. So thanks for watching, and goodbye.